Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Reds Rundown podcast, hosted by two lifelong Reds fans and journalists. I'm Rob, he's Joe, and we appreciate you taking the time to join us today. Joe, as always, fill us in on your weekend. What was going on for you?
I just had a wedding, was possibly watching the Reds game, the end of their Saturday game during the ceremony. We won't be saying anything about that, but that I think there's some exceptions to be made when the Reds are playing baseball and you have a ceremony. I think the expectation is people might be checking the scores or something. So that was good, and yeah, we had some good baseball. We didn't end the week maybe as strongly as we would have hoped, but still a pretty good week for us, especially during this tough stretch of schedule.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Knowing the person whose wedding you were at, they probably would have fully understood had they known what was going on. So that is good to know. We'll hop into the question of the day here in just a second. As always, we've seen a lot more of you guys hopping in here and watching and joining. Make sure that you like and subscribe so you're not missing out on any of these. We're starting to put out more shorts on a regular basis as well. So if you want to get maybe condensed thoughts from Joe or I, make sure that you do that so you're not missing out on it. But today we're going to be going into some major injury updates. Joe, we'll obviously look at the games of the week. There's some movements that the Reds have made here in the last few days, one that we will see today. And then another one that we will see on Tuesday with the debut of Chase Burns. Matt McLain's been on fire. Ken Rosenthal said something almost to the exact opposite of what Nick Krall said last week. And then we'll talk Yankees-Padres. A lot to get through today, Joe, but we'll go straight to our question of the day here. What are your expectations for Chase Burns in his first ever MLB game, as that will be on Tuesday? We'll talk about that here shortly. But let's get into it. Games of the week here. Joe, the Reds started off with a nice big old W. They continued to find a way to claw their way back. The Twins tried to make it a problem, but the Reds would come back and win this game 6-5. They would do so with a lot of good action on walks, taking advantage of things. No home runs in this game, only doubles by Benson and Friedel. But Andrew Abbott would do Andrew Abbott things. He would go 5 2/3, give up 8 hits. He would give up a home run, but it was mostly on accident. Jake Fraley would hit the ball over with his glove, but he would have 5 Ks. They would not charge him with earned runs, Joe, which I didn't know that if you knock the ball over, you do not earn any of those runs. So that was definitely a surprise to me. But the Reds would go in there and get that win. Then it was a 4-2 rain-soaked game on Wednesday. The Reds would win in 6 innings. Spencer Steer with a home run and a double in this game. Lodolo would get his first technically complete game of his career. 6 innings, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, 4 Ks. He would give up the Byron Buxton home run that seemingly happened, well, not seemingly, did happen every single game. The last one here, the Reds would unfortunately falter. Nick Martinez would get roughed up, which is starting to happen again at a pretty alarming rate. 2 2/3 innings pitched, 7 earned runs, 7 hits, 3 home runs, 4 strikeouts. Gavin Lux would hit a home run off of Chris Paddock to give the Reds a little bit of a shot here, but they would not be able to hold down this lead, Joe. It was still a 2 out of 3 against a okay-ish Twins team. Byron Buxton, even through the rest of the week, continued to be hot here, hitting I think another 1 or 2 leadoff home runs in his next series. But other than Buxton, I think the Reds did a good job of taking care of business, keeping people, under wraps here. I really think that game on Tuesday was a lot closer than it should have been, considering, the Fraley mishap there. Even if they would have gotten 1, maybe 2 runs off of that, it still looks like Abbott was mostly in control. But the Reds would get the win, and it was a good series.
It was a good series. Obviously, we kept that momentum going from last week to start after we beat the Tigers in 2 of the last 3 games we played them. I think it's kind of it furthers the point that we talked about last week. This team is getting better at handling adversity. The series specifically, they win the series. I'm not sure what the stats would say. I'm not sure how often this happens. Byron Buxton First at bat, 2 home runs in the first at bat of the game, so you're down early. I was thinking, okay, with the Reds of 2 or 3 weeks ago, this is over already. But they battle back. They do pretty well, and I think this is a series where I'm starting to consider the Nick Martinez move to the bullpen a lot more. This Twins lineup we talked about is not the best. Byron Buxton's tough. We know that. And we talked about how Carlos Correa just isn't the same. And, Ty France is has the most hits for their team this year. And it's like, okay, we let him walk for nothing. And yes, that is a blunder by us possibly, but that's not great. So with this paired with the Chase Burns news and coming up, if we get guys healthy in the starting rotation, I know it stinks to pay a reliever $20 million a year for this year.
Especially a middle reliever, potentially.
Yeah, but I don't know. You can't just keep on having these issues. I think he'll probably come back around and be a solid starter for us, and I think someone else will get injured. But if everyone's healthy, I think he has to move to the bullpen because I don't want anyone else, the young guys, moving to the bullpen and trying to figure it out when Martinez obviously has a history of being a solid bullpen pitcher. So that's kind of my takeaways from this one. This was obviously part of the Matt McLain start to his this big week. He started his hitting streak earlier than this, but he's really battled back, and this was kind of the start of it. So good for him. And we talked about last week about how some of these teams might be looking at trades here soon. If we can help the Twins possibly get closer to the point where they might be trading, that'd be good because they have some good players who, again, they probably need a rebuild. And right now they're under 500 in the AL Central, and they're probably not going to make up enough ground to make the playoffs this year, I would imagine, just based on what I see. And basically what I'm saying is this is never going to happen, but Byron Buxton, come be a Red, buddy. Let's have some fun. Keep on hitting home runs in Great American Ballpark, please, for us.
Well, if they're going to send him over, they better steal reinforcements for all limbs. That's my only worry with him is the man is perennially hurt. So otherwise, I wouldn't hate it. But yeah, it was a great series, I think, for the Reds. Would have loved to have swept them, but if you keep taking 2 out of 3, you're not going to really be upset. That will consistently get you, I think, closer and closer to the playoffs, which the Reds continue to do. But they did have a short road trip into St. Louis, and it was not exactly our favorite road trip there. The Reds would struggle against... It's so interesting with Palante. Either the Reds rough him up very quickly, or he settles in and has an awesome game. Unfortunately, he had an awesome game. So did Brady Singer, who kind of got left out to dry here in this game, Joe. But 6 innings, 1 run, 7 Ks on 1 walk. What an excellent outing for him. Lowered his ERA to a 4.13. He has been pitching a lot better as of late. Could get that ERA below a 4, which would be huge for him. Unfortunately, Scott Barlow and Taylor Rogers and Tony Santillan would not be able to get the job done. But a good positive note was that Connor Phillips came in, and outside of looking bad in that first batter, he came in and was electric. Upper 90s, great slider, 2 strikeouts in his 1 inning of work. I think he's earned himself another shot. We'll have to see what the Reds do here, but considering how horrible last year was for him, it'd be nice to see him be able to come back even as a reliever. The Reds would also lose a absolute just stinger of a game here, 6-5 on Saturday, in a game that Elly De La Cruz did something that, Joe, that I've been wanting from him from a long time, where, yes, he got really sick. I think he was potentially, there was some stuff going on with him. I'm not going to say exactly what, but he hits a huge triple, hits a huge home run in the game to tie it up. Made some excellent plays in the field as well. It was a bullpen game. Brent Suter finally didn't have the amazing, opener luck that he had, or just, I guess, performance. He did give up 2 runs, but Nick Martinez would come in because he had such a low pitch count. Got 2 innings as well. But it would be Tony Santillan and Emilio Pagan who would, unfortunately, the guys we've relied on all season, they were the ones who would struggle. Pagan would give up a leadoff home run when the Reds were up 5-4 here in the 9th to Nolan Arenado, who didn't even freaking play on that Friday night game, which was unbelievable. Chase Petty would get the loss. He still did not look great, but he was better in this appearance than he had been. The Reds would finally get a win, though, 4-1, again, behind guess who? Andrew Abbott. Who else? right? This man is just automatic. When you need a resting day for your bullpen, Andrew Abbott says, okay, don't worry. I threw 40 pitches in the first 2 innings, but guess what? I'm still going to only throw 60 through the next 5. The man was awesome. 7 innings pitched, moved himself to a 7-1 record, 1 earned run given up on 3 hits, 3 strikeouts. Matt McLain would hit a big home run in this game. Jose Trevino, Jake Fraley with back-to-back doubles, Ellie with another double as well. And this team, they had to get a win, while they were in St. Louis. We knew it was going to be a weird series, and they were able to get it. They really should have had 2 wins, Joe, in my book. But Pagan, really for the first time in a while, giving up, because he came in, shut it down in the 8th, and then gave up, just got ambushed and gave up that home run, but struck out every single batter other than Nolan Arenado that he faced. So he's still looking pretty good there, but only his 3rd blown save of the year. So I don't know, Joe. I still think we're better than the Cardinals. I have no idea how this team continues to win baseball games. They just have some sort of weird voodoo magic that seems to never go away. But they get it done. I don't know how else to say it. They play close games very well, seemingly. They are good at timely hitting, and they are good at limiting damage and not letting innings get away. And that can be enough, regardless of how good or bad your team is. So it was interesting to watch.
Yeah, it must be nice. And honestly, to all those people who said Cardinals fans are so great, they support their team. There was no one in the stands this whole series. It was pathetic. If the Reds had a championship level team a lot of the years over the last 15, 20 years, the Reds fans would be in the stands too. So don't lose me with all that stuff. The Sunday game was pathetic. There was like 5 people in the stands.
Mm-hmm.
But still jealous of some of the things they do. Like they get, like if we miss on a prospect, we kind of sometimes we're screwed. They miss on the prospects, and guys you don't expect to hit as well as they are. Brendan Donovan, we talked about, still batting .308 this year. Alec Burleson, .308 this year. Yep. Yeah, it's crazy. Ivan Herrera, .320. He obviously doesn't play as much as one of the catchers, but this is a very solid team. I still expect them to finish around 500, I would say, especially there's, 7 games above 500 right now, something like that. Or 6 games above 500. But yeah, this, to me, it was a good week because it's such a tough week, tough stretch we have. We're staying 2 games above 500. We talked about how this next week, again, just kind of stay around 500, and then the week after that, you have a chance to really pick up some ground if we can finally beat some teams that are bad. This is a little bit concerning in the sense of grand scheme of things, not because of what we just said, when we have a chance to make up some ground in 2 weeks from now. But I am still very concerned that we struggle against the NL Central. We're 11-15. And again, this is not the toughest division. Yes, we have 6 games against the Cubs, and they're pretty good. But I would say everyone else, we should probably be right there with, possibly beating them a lot of the times. And, the fact that, we lost the series to the Pirates. We did sweep them the one time. We lost the other series to the Pirates. I don't know. It seems like we have those issues. We need to figure that out with the division. Now we have a losing record against the Brewers, the Cardinals, and Cubs in the division. We have a winning record against the Pirates, and that's it. So that's something that we need to figure out down the stretch because those honestly might be some of our easier games. Yes, they're solid teams and 500 teams, but in this stretch especially with some of our easier games. So want us to clean up beating the NL Central. Andrew Abbott's incredible, Rob. I'm still impressed with how he moves his pitches, places them in different spots. He changes speeds very well, and I know the new age is all about spin rate and all about how much velocity you get, but it is refreshing to see a guy who's so fundamentally such a good pitcher about how he does things, moving those spots and getting people to change, getting the hitters to get off pace by changing his speeds. And then one more thing, Ellie, incredible in that series, doing a couple of different things, like you said, puking, but coming back and playing pretty well. I thought he was going to be taken out of the game for sure because of how long that delay was, too. One, a minor thing, obviously hits that triple, tries to extend it into getting to home on that air. I don't know. I think there still needs to be some more of that accountability with the base running for him and everyone else, too. I think, the ball was... I know he's...
J.R. House sent him.
I know.
That's what was weird.
The ball was it was so close. He was out by a couple steps, and for as fast as he is, that's crazy. But sometimes don't make that last out at home. I know it's usually don't make it the last out at third, but don't make the last out at home when the ball's 10 feet away from the guy and he picks it up and gets you out by 3 or 4 steps when possibly the fastest guy in the big league. So looking for that in the future for to continue seeing the base running accountability come about. We've had some issues. I think we cleaned it up pretty well over the last several weeks, but like before that we had like Connor Joe. Remember the Connor Joe getting thrown out on the steal, and then Spencer Steer getting caught in that rundown maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. Since then it's been okay, but yeah, maybe it's such a hot weekend where the ball's 10 feet away and Ellie's possibly already sick at this point. Like maybe don't send him home. Let's just keep a guy at third and see if our hitters can get him in. As much as we sometimes struggle with that too.
Yeah, I mean, J.R. House is a human. He's going to make mistakes. A lot of people love to blame him for stuff, and, they want to be aggressive. So I don't blame him for trying to, because the one thing I will say is they were flustered already. There's a good chance they throw the ball away just as much as there is one that he gets him out. So I will give him that in that regard. That's probably where his thought process was. But, yeah, I mean, to your point to the NL Central, Joe, I mean, listen to this. Milwaukee, 362 runs scored, 321 runs allowed. St. Louis, 366, 332. Cincinnati, 360, 326. Almost identical records. Expected win-loss. Both the Brewers and the Reds at 43 and 35. St. Louis, exactly what their record is, along with Milwaukee, 42 and 36, right? Like, these teams are very much right in the middle of everything, and I think it's going to be these three teams ultimately that may end up deciding who the wild card teams are. Not necessarily because they're all going to make it, Joe, but I think it's going to be whether or not they make moves, whether or not they can get over the hump. And I'm just glad that we're in that conversation right now, considering how down we were about a month ago. I will give this team their laurels. They have battled, they have surprised, and I'm hoping that they'll surprise again because they are doing some crazy things here. We'll talk about that in a minute, but let's get into the injury updates. Wade Miley with a flexor strain. The rumors are that he is strongly considering retirement. He went home to spend time with his kids, watch his kids' baseball game, apparently. I'm going to just throw this out there, and maybe this is not my place, but I'm wondering if the Tyler Skaggs stuff coming up has anything to do with this, Joe, because he fought all the way back from Tommy John, and I understand that a flexor strain is annoying, right? But it's not detrimental. Like, why would you call it a career on a flexor strain, right? Is it that maybe he just got 2 really good games back? He decided, hey, like, I just want to end it on a high note. I don't know. Like, I'll get through the rest of these injuries, and I'd really love your thoughts on that because that is something that is very interesting to me. Austin Hayes could be back literally any day. That is not an exaggeration. He ran the bases yesterday. He was hitting, on the field on Saturday, I believe it was. It could be any time this week or next week, I would have to imagine, as soon as they're comfortable with the fact that he's not going to re-injure himself. Noelvi Marte has started playing in AAA, so the days of being able to screw around are limited for anybody who is going to be playing third base. And then Graham Ashcraft did go to the IL, unfortunately, with a groin strain. That may have explained why he was struggling a little bit in those last 2 starts, specifically from the sounds of it. But let's very briefly talk about this Wade Miley thing. I'd love to get your thoughts on it, and then we'll move on to some of the other bigger notes.
Yeah, I wonder too if the Skaggs thing does weigh on him a little bit. I don't know. I think more so, and that's like the big thing online is people saying, "Oh, it's just all that stuff coming up." I think more so it's just you battle back to get to a point where you get to pitch, and you come back for 2 games or whatever in the big leagues, and then you're just done, right? Like it's like, oh, I got to go through this again. I got to go through another injury, and then if I come back again, I get injured again. I got to battle through. I think he is just taking some time for himself. I get that he's kind of probably thinking about retirement. I think he's going to try to come back for this year and finish out the year strong, would be my inclination. Not just because I think he will. I think he still has a little bit left more in the tank. I know he gave us some pretty good innings, more than we expected. But also, there's a path for him being on this team and having a role again. And I didn't think I'd ever say that after how bad he was in the minor leagues. But yeah, we have Chase Burns coming up. But Hunter Green's hurt. Our starting pitchers always get hurt down the stretch, and our young ones at least. We have Nick Martinez not pitching well and might be moving to the bullpen. Lefties, I would rather, like, honestly, maybe a long reliever. He could be a role in that as a lefty long reliever. Obviously, we have some right now, but one injury that we might have to go back to the drawing board to find a lefty in a trade. So, yeah, I think it might be just he wants to take some time to like not think about baseball after like you put so much into it trying to come back and you get back and then it's like, oh, it's all gone already. So I'm sure that skag stuff does weigh on him a little bit. We're obviously still waiting to find out more about what that is, what the reports are. It is crazy that it's almost was it 10 years later now, and we're just finding out some of this stuff. So that probably does weigh on him. But yeah, and honestly, we have some other injuries too, like Graham Ashcraft, like you said, groin strain, not a long term thing probably, but they always talk about pitching depth, so I would imagine there's probably a role for Wade Miley in the future for us if he decides he wants to keep on going at it. If everyone's healthy, maybe not, but that's the one thing we have not been as a starting pitching staff or even in bullpen in the last 2 or 3 years. Healthy has not been one of those things.
I wonder if he watches these like this burn start and maybe just sees kind of how things go and decide then because I'm sure he wants to be able to play if he's going to come back, right? I'm sure he doesn't want to sit in AAA or in DFA'd land. So we will see. I mean, if he's going to keep throwing 94, 95, I'm fine with him coming back. Like, I know it's not always about speed, but the fact that he's not throwing 89, 90, just blobbers, batting practice. Like, I'm cool with that. All right, some movement here. Reese Hines, Yosver Zulueta, love to say that name, and Jamer Candelario are coming back. Garrett Hampson designated for assignment and Chase Petty sent down to AAA. The Candyman has returned, Joe. He is expected to be activated before today's game. I don't know. The dude hit 211 in AAA and other minor league areas. And I understand, we've seen Joey Votto go down there, hit 179, and then come back up and hit 400, right? But this guy's not Joey Votto. This is a guy who was struggling beforehand. It seems like I will give him credit. In the last game that he did play in, he had that home run and a double. His swing looked way better than it had all season. It looked like he was getting around on the ball well. There was actually some pop in that bat. I just don't know where you play him. Spencer Steer is nearing Gold Glove levels of first base. And he's hitting better. You're not going to get rid of him right now. Noelvi Marte is going to be coming back for third base here soon. Joe, what do you even do with this man? Like, you're not going to take DHing opportunities away from Tyler Stevenson. I mean, and Gavin Lux, by the way, who has also been getting DH time. So there's your righty-lefty right there. I mean, do you really even need him at this point? Is he just going to be the man who sits on a bench? Like, I'll tell you what, we may complain about the Reds' money problems, but part of it is that, if Nick Martinez gets moved to the bullpen, you got two guys that are making like $45 million this year that are not even really getting used on a regular basis. So, cost allocation, I don't want him to stop spending money, but what are you thinking here with Jamer, man?
I guess I'd rather have Jamer than Garrett Hampson if that's the trade that this team is willing.
That's true.
I guess making, but do we have to have a player that bad on the roster? Why are those the only two options, Rob? What are we doing here? Yeah, I think this is a guy who's going to be the 26th man on the roster if you're doing things right. He's not going to play very much. You obviously can't use him as a defensive substitution. Maybe you could put him as a guy who bats against lefties. He did hit lefties better this year, and I believe in his career it was 150 to 100 this year is what the two averages.
Great.
Might be better than some of our hitters, as bad as that sounds, but I don't know. This is in my opinion, hopefully a last shot for him. If he was injured earlier, didn't seem like it was really that big of an injury, but if he was injured earlier, this is your last chance. I don't know where those at-bats are going to come. I don't want, I'd still like to use the DH spot on the catchers or on, Gavin Lux or any of the people we've used him on the last several weeks. So, yeah, I don't know. Marte comes back in a couple of weeks, right? Then Candy has to be the guy gone, I think, at this. I guess they're probably going to resend Reese Hines down again because that's what they like to do. But that was my thought process is like, okay, this is the last shot. I guess he's better than Garrett Hampson, so we kind of have a spot for him right now, but it's getting very close to us not having that spot just available. And I guess the only good thing is, too, that he can play multiple positions, first and third. Not that he's great at it, but I have nothing else. I don't have much positive to say, so I'm going to stop myself now. Other than he might be better than Garrett Hampson. That's all I got.
Garrett Hampson is fast and a decent defender. All right, we'll move on.
Yeah.
Chase Burns, Joe. We talked about it. We've been wondering with the rapid pace that he was moving through the minors. But Joe, from college to the MLB in less than 1 calendar year. We've seen it before. It's very rare. Even Rhett Lauder did not do this, for the people who love Rhett Lauder. And we are some of those people. But, the question becomes, what are our expectations? I'm going to give you some stats, Joe. 177 ERA across 3 levels in 13 games. The one thing that's interesting here, he's averaging just over 5 innings per game. He's given up 5 home runs, 13 walks to 89 strikeouts. That's a beautiful strikeout to walk ratio. .773 whip, which is also outstanding. 12.1 Ks per 9. Where are you at here?
He's awesome. I know we've talked about it when we drafted him last year. Like the pick, even though, again, picking pitchers back-to-back years with Lauder and then him was a little bit maybe overkill. And yes, we do need bats, but he's just awesome. Good value pick. We got him in the draft. His stats in the minor leagues are comparable or even better than Paul Skeens. I think we are handling with kid gloves, just letting him go 5 innings a game or so. But that again comes to our strategy of maybe if we would have pitched him last year instead of shutting him down and just like, hey, let's get your feet wet last year at the end of the year. Hey, maybe let's pitch you as a reliever last year, or maybe let's pitch you for 5 innings a game last year and not like overdo it. Maybe that would work better. But he's ready. I think we're finding high-level college baseball, especially with NIL stuff coming through. More players are going to college so they can get their degree and they can play. They say like SEC baseball or high-level baseball. He played in the SEC and the ACC with Tennessee and Wake Forest. That's like playing Double-A. So he has gotten a lot of experience over his time. And I would say that he is ready. I know they said a couple weeks ago that he wasn't quite ready yet. He's been ready for a while. He's a guy who's going to have nasty stuff. He's going to get a lot of strikeouts. Again, I talk about all the time, like having different types of pitchers in a rotation. I guess his stuff would be most like Hunter Green just because he's a righty and he does have some velocity to him. But I still think he provides something different. So I'm pretty happy with this. I'm going to try to be patient, and if he doesn't have a great first start against the Yankees, I maybe wish we would have had a chance to bring him up against maybe an easier competition.
Yeah.
Especially in our ballpark. But he's great. I think maybe we're bringing out to like there could be an argument we can find some other guys to kind of throw in there or something like that just to kind of give him more time. Lauder still on the 60-day IL. The oblique strain when he was rehabbing happened over a month ago now, I think, about a month ago. We haven't really had an update on it. I know he's like 30 days away, but usually you get like a little update or a nugget about how they're doing, and we haven't gotten that. So I think they're like, okay, well, we're bringing up Chase Burns now because Rhett Lauder's not going to be in the equation. Wade Miley's considering retirement. I mean, Carson Spire's on the 60-day DL. It's a whole thing. So it makes sense that we're bringing him up. I think he is ready. What an awful first start he has against all those hitters the Yankees have in our ballpark, which next to their ballpark is one of the easiest ones to hit home runs in. So, I'm excited for it. He's going to be a lot of fun for Reds fans to watch, and we do have. I mean, imagine if we're ever healthy, Rob. We have Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, Andrew Abbott, Rhett Lauder, and Chase Burns as a starting rotation possibly in the next year or two. Crazy good. Our worst starter is maybe Rhett Lauder, and before the year we would have said Andrew Abbott, and that guy is obviously an all-star this year probably. So crazy work. They have the rotation figured out. Yes, they'll probably still need to get depth pieces, but man, let's go focus on finding some bats to help these guys out. That's what I'm hoping for.
I think we may have that here in the next 2 months. Be the 5. I think the Reds may trade Singer. I'm gonna be totally honest. I think there's a chance, but we'll see because I don't think he's gonna head to the bullpen. But dude, Rhett Lauder is. I was just looking at rookie stats, like rookies that could be in for Rookie of the Year. If he comes in and is significant, because they say he's got about 65 innings left till they would technically be uncomfortable with him going too much longer, because I think they said they generally want to get him around 120 to 130 in their first year. He's at 66 right now, right? So give or take, that's about 10 starts. That gets you almost through the end of the year. I don't know if maybe they'll spot start him here and there, or maybe they'll just be like, hey, this dude's a dog, and we'll give him the offseason, to recoup. Because hopefully he's pitching in October. That'd be sick. But, yeah, I mean, look, he could win Rookie of the Year. I mean, very much so. He could come in here and just straight up win Rookie of the Year right now. There's nobody who has grabbed it in the NL that I could see. I would say the kid in Chad Patrick, I think, in Milwaukee was the best one that I could find looking through rookie stats. There are a couple kids in Miami as well, but I think this is a perfect opportunity for Burnes to come in and just straight up win Rookie of the Year. If this guy can even have like a 2.5 ERA, 3 even ERA, he's got the stuff. He looks awesome. Tuesday is going to be a cannot miss start for the Reds. I unfortunately will be missing part of it because I wasn't anticipating this, but that is okay. Very much worth it. And I think, like you said, I mean, if Rhett Lauder is your worst starter, he's probably better than most 4 starters even. I personally think that this puts the Reds right there with the Dodgers in terms of best rotations in baseball, and the Phillies probably too. Wow, all NL teams, who would have guessed? But it's an incredible thing, and it makes you, and the best part about it, Joe, is I believe Lodolo is the closest in terms of contract being up. Like, this could be the rotation for the next 5 years. 4 to 5 years without a break here, because I think it's 2029 or 2030 even for Hunter Green. So it's there's a very real world where you have 5 incredible starters for the next few years, and all you really need is to make sure you have some good AAA guys that you can bring up here and there. And I think the Reds could have one of the best rotations in baseball for the next half a decade if they take care of business the way that they should. So I'm personally very excited. The question was, what are your expectations in this first game, Joe? I'm going to give mine. I think he's going to give up at least 1 home run. It's going to be whether or not he lets his nerves get to him in terms of walks. I think that's going to be the big key, because we know he has the stuff. He's good at locating. He's got good. He's just got good stuff in general. I honestly think he's going to battle, man. He mainly go 4 innings because of some sort of pitch limit, right? He's not going to be, that guy he's going to probably throw 20 pitches, an inning or something like that, and they'll take him out in the middle of the 5th or something like that. But I don't know. I'm really excited to watch him play. I think he's going to be a stud, and I think that first game, regardless of who he's going up against, adrenaline may just carry the day for him. What about you?
Yeah, it's tough because the lineup is so good for the Yankees, but at the same time, we see a lot of new pitchers. If they're actually good and can control the ball a little bit, they have good first starts because no one has the book out on them yet.
Yep.
And especially because he's only has 13 games with 5 innings pitched per game, basically. People can start watching his college tape maybe to try to get a read on what he's doing, but I would say that he's hopefully worked on his stuff a little bit even since college, which was obviously last year. He's a guy. I think he's going to have a good. I think he's going to have a good start. I think it's going to be, maybe he doesn't get the win, but maybe 6 innings, 3 earned runs, something like it's.
That'd be
decent,
amazing.
But not Yeah, but it wouldn't be against the Yankees. That probably is good and gives you something to build on too. So, he has really good stuff. He probably is the best. It's hard for us to say this now because Hunter Green's here, but he's the best pitcher we've had in the system since Hunter Green, who was picked highly as well. He hasn't really walked that many hitters, so I'm not too concerned about that. So I think he's going to have a solid outing, and just hope that when he does give up that home run, that's probably inevitable against this lineup, that there's not 1 or 2 runners on when he doesn't. So I'll say, 6 innings, 3 runs allowed. Pretty good debut against such a good lineup.
I think we would be ecstatic, to say the least. That would be amazing if we could get that out of him.
And to your point, yeah, I know Rookie of the Year is wide open, Rob. We have a lot of guys who are stepping up in their second year, like PCA for the Cubs, and James Wood for the Nationals has been on fire. But I think they both played 79 to 80 games last year or something like that, and they're not don't qualify. So if you look at the names, there's a good chance, even if you follow baseball, there's guys who are why is this guy leading the NL Rookie of the Year? So there's plenty of opportunity for teams like us who have young players who might be coming up to help us take that title.
I would love to see it. We move on to Matt McLain. He has been outstanding. 10-game hit streak, but I'm going to read you his stats over his last 7 and 15 games. So 10 of 24, 7 runs, 1 home run, 2 walks to 6 strikeouts with an OPS of 1,100 in his last 7 games. Then his last 15, 17 of 50, 11 runs, 3 home runs, 8 RBIs, 6 walks, 13 Ks, a 980 OPS. Now, I will say, obviously, 7 for 26, not terrible, not great. It's that 10 to 24 stretch that's been great, but Matt McLain is starting to figure himself out. I had been talking about, I want to see what a full season of Matt McLain would look like before really judging. These last 15 games, he has gotten close to what a normal season would be. 157 games. These are his stats. 604 at-bats, which is about what we would expect from him in a full season. 100 runs scored, which is unbelievable, by the way. Quite the table setter. 30 doubles, 4 triples. He does not have any of those this year. 25 home runs, 77 RBIs, 59 walks to 194 Ks. Oof on the Ks, but they've been coming down this year compared to actually the first year. 25 stolen bases for 258, 335, 445, and a 780 OPS. That's not bad. That is not bad for your first full season's worth of baseball. Now, he has really come on strong lately, but what I've liked that I've been seeing, Joe, he's going the other way again. This was, I think, a huge problem for him in the season is he was so far behind these fastballs. He wasn't driving the ball. He wasn't getting even to a lot of these 96-mile-an-hour fastballs. In the last 10-ish games, I would say, for me at least, a lot of his hits have been to right field. Even his home run yesterday was a bomb to right field, to the opposite field. It feels like he's starting to get more comfortable. The strength is coming back. He's speeding up his bat a little bit. He still needs to work on, I think, some parts of his plate discipline, but for the most part, things have been looking better.
Yeah, definitely. I do. Yeah, you're right. He does have to work on it a little bit more. I do appreciate how his plate discipline has gotten much better in the last couple weeks here.
Yes.
For reference, his on-base percentage is .301. Spencer Steer, who has also had his struggles this year but has 21 higher batting average points, is .287. And that's something we can talk about in the future with him making sure he sees the zone better, too, because he is hitting better, too.
Mm-hmm.
This is a good lesson about how fast things can change. We're talking last week or 2 weeks ago, he had a negative WAR. Now he's up to 0.4 WAR. It's getting to the point of the season where that's less fluctuating, like it'll be more standard. But he's turning it around now. So I like the way he's seeing the zone better. I think he's doing the little things better. I think more so with him, after the first couple of weeks back where I think he's physically comfortable, I think it was more of a mental game of getting back on track and seeing things the right way and seeing the zone the right way. And the pop in his bat is there. He's doing really well. And I think it shows what good baseball teams do. I think they talked about on the broadcast a lot how the confidence seems to be flowing through this team a lot more lately. That's huge for the mental aspect. But Gavin Lux struggles these last couple of weeks. He's down to a 262 average after he was up 290 and everything the last couple of weeks. And if one person steps up their game and picks it up, that's how it should be. It shouldn't be that Matt McLain and Spencer Steer are both doing bad and we have no one to pick up the slack. Gavin Lux struggling right now, and we have Matt McLain hitting better, and Spencer Steer hitting better. Ellie's been consistently around 260 to 270, somewhere in that range for the most of the time. And TJ Friedel's been the ultimate consistent guy. So that's huge. And yeah, I think it's going to be important for him to continue on this path. If it's a month from now and he's still batting 209, there's a problem. But if he has moved his average up even a little bit slider and it's like 220 at that point, now we're cooking with gas. This lineup's actually doing pretty well. And the only thing I have to say after that is that I hope that the Reds aren't going to be like, hey, Matt McLain's hitting now. We don't need another bat. We have Matt McLain. That's our that's the phrasing they're always going to use. Hey, our trade deadline acquisition was Matt McLain getting better. That's not how that works. Please no. That's my biggest fear.
Dude, it's so funny you say that because, and I'll talk about Matt McLain here in a second, but I was rewatching, funny enough, the Super Bowl, where the Eagles were up, 35-0 or something like that, or 35, whatever. And, literally the broadcasters are talking about the fact that, hey, now they can just run the ball. If you don't know football very well, once you're up by that much, you generally just want to run the clock out. The Eagles went for the dagger, right? And they probably won because of it. Like, that totally deflated. That was it. There was no shot of a comeback. They were up like 42 points, right? The Reds, regardless of if you get Austin Hayes back and he's healthy, regardless of if Matt McLain comes back and is doing well, regardless of if Noel V. Marte comes back and hits really well, go get the other things that you need. Go get that bullpen arm. Go get that hitter. We're going to talk about that here in just a minute, Joe. But to your point, teams that win are the ones who go for the kill, not the ones who wait for it to come to them. And I think that this Reds team, regardless of who's doing well, is going to need to go for the kill. If Jake Fraley and Will Benson are your last men, like on your 25 and 20 or on your 26 men roster, they're your 25th and 26th guy, you're going to be very happy with that. If you have a bench with those two guys, Santiago Espinal and Trevino, right? Like, dude, you are pumped. That's great. That is good news for this team. So even losing one of them, honestly, I think may end up being the way it goes, unfortunately, if they go out and get an outfield bat. But that's a different topic of conversation. McLain has been great. We've been waiting for him to kind of re-find himself. What I really think is going to be interesting is whether or not when teams start figuring him out a little bit again, realizing they can't throw that fastball down the middle anymore and he's going to be behind it, right? When they start throwing him a very steady diet of breaking balls, I think it was, who was pitching yesterday? Was it Mikolas? Yeah, it was Mikolas, right? He threw McLain, I think it was on a 1-2 count, just a filthy 12-6. McLain, I knew that was going to be a ball. From the second it came out of his hand, McLain went right through that. He is still a very good batter in terms of walking. He just, when he gets down in the count, I want him to be work a little bit more like Gavin Lux does. Foul some stuff off. I think he does a good job of getting ahead in counts. I think it's just when he's really behind, the fighting back aspect is the part that I want to see next for him. But I don't really care. If he keeps hitting like this, that is fine. I would love, he's not going to hit 400 forever, Joe, right? Like, that's just not going to happen. That's not realistic. But if he can bat 280 to 290 through the rest of the season, then we kind of forget about that month and a half that was absolutely just horrific, I guess is the nice way to put it. Appalling, abysmal, all those words. To where if he can kind of get it going through the rest of this season, that's going to help Ellie, that's going to help Steer, that's going to help literally everybody else. And this team will be rolling, because when Austin Hayes gets back into that lineup, he may only play half the freaking season, Joe. But every game that man plays, this Reds team is a better team. And I'm really hoping he comes back here soon. I'm glad that they're taking their time on him, because those types of deep bone bruises can come back and you're right back on the DL very quickly. So very happy about this with McLain. We've got a little bit of time here left. Let's go into a really interesting statement that was said by Ken Rosenthal, Joe. So we talked about it last week. Nick Krall did not make us feel very confident in his statements, saying essentially, yeah, we need to get some more depth or something, and we'll see what else happens. Here is what Ken Rosenthal said, answering something, I guess. He had an interesting answer regarding the Cincinnati Reds and MLB trade deadline. This is coming from, by the way, I want to make sure I give credit, Greg Kuffner of Sports Illustrated for the Reds here. From Rosenthal, I'll give you one team who I do expect to be aggressive. More aggressive than we would expect. That's the Cincinnati Reds. They've invested a lot in this team. They've got really good pitching. They got more pitching coming. Chase Burns, I guess, alluding to that because this was before that announcement. They are a team that seems to be at least one bat away, but they're a team with some promise. And with Terry Francona as your manager, I'd expect them to do some things. So, look, that's awesome. But what is the truth, Joe? Is it Nick Krall? Is it Ken Rosenthal? Is it a mixture of both? Are we getting smoke screened? Are we getting really and truly gaslit by both of them? What is going on right now?
I think so. And if you read into the lines of this, it's like Ken Rosenthal is not reporting that they're going to be unexpectedly aggressive. He just expects them to. And on paper, that makes a ton of sense, right? Like, hey, we do have a solid roster to start. We do need literally. You can make a case that like one rental bat, one or two bullpen arms, and like you really start making some moves. And I think he's trying to say like just like Reds fans are like, wow, we're like we're so close. If we get like a really good hitter to kind of add to this lineup, hitting's contagious. It'll help everyone. Um, but Nick Kroll, the comments weren't great. And maybe he's trying to hide his hand and everything.
That's
but
what I'm wondering.
honestly, if you're in the playoff contention, teams expect you to trade to make it. The Reds have never been that team, but I don't think you're even holding it close to the vest. I don't think really does anything for your trade value and be able to get anything back for it. So I don't know. This team has just never really made those trade deadline acquisitions that really made you go, "Wow, that's what we're actually going to go for it." Um, Marlon Byrd all those years ago, he was like one of the examples, and he was fine. But like, if we're going to do something, I want to get something better back than fine. Um, and you're right, Rob. I think you said this earlier when we were talking about Matt McLain, but it kind of applies here. Remember the Braves back in 2021? They had injuries. Ronald Acuna was hurt. I think was Albies hurt too. I think. And everyone's like, all right, they'll probably just reload for next year at the deadline. They're not going to do much. They went for it. They got Jock Peterson, a couple other guys, and like who didn't stay around long term in Atlanta. I think Jock Peterson maybe stayed one more year after that, maybe. But and they won the whole thing. And it's like the teams who are aggressive with their roster construction, and you can even say in game like the Eagles did, Rob. But even like Howie Roseman, their GM, continues to add players and add players to this roster. Like he doesn't stop just because they're the best overall roster in the NFL. I think he keeps on adding to make even better and better as much as he can. That's what the Reds need to start doing. Yes, they're a small market team. It's not like the NFL where they make tons of money based on just being in the NFL. It's baseball, and Yankees obviously have more money to spend than the Reds. But yeah, they need to be aggressive. Answer your question, it'll probably end up somewhere in the middle, and we will go get a Marlon Byrd-esque player and maybe one reliever. And could that help enough to make the playoffs? Sure. I don't know if it's going to be enough to really make us really compete in the playoffs. Our hope at that point is, hey, our starting pitchers might be better than a lot of people's starting pitchers in the playoffs. Like you said, maybe other than the Dodgers, especially like when you look around the league, and there are plenty of teams who are in playoff contention who are having struggles with their starting pitching in the National League. Like we talked about the Cubs and their injuries. The Giants we faced before, they have obviously an aging starting rotation. So that's our only thing is maybe our starters just throw out of their minds. But I want to go get someone who's like a plus bat. I don't want someone who's just kind of average. I want to get a guy with plus stuff in the bullpen, maybe two guys with plus stuff in the bullpen, really help us out. So my feeling is usually when these things come out, it always ends right in the middle. It's never as good as you want or as bad as you fear. It's usually in the middle, and that's probably what's going to end up here.
Yeah, I think so too. What's interesting is that like they really are one piece away, I think, in the lineup specifically. I don't know what that looks like, right? I don't know who that could be. I consistently am looking at doubles guys right now because I think you're not going to necessarily get like the top home run hitters, because I think if the Reds are playing this smart, right, there are still very good plus bats, like you said, that you can get that maybe other teams are not considering as much, right? Because maybe they're not the home run kind of guy. This team is fine if you have a guy who's hitting an absolute crap ton of doubles, right? Because some of those will turn into home runs just naturally. I don't want them to go out and get a Taylor Ward who's batting .210 but has 19 home runs, right? I would rather them get, who's the name I was just looking at? I'd rather them get a Jarren Duran who's batting .257 with 18 doubles, 8 triples, and 5 home runs, right? I'd rather them go and get another name I was just looking at here now. I think the Blue Jays are still in it, but like, Ernie Clement, right? 16 doubles, 4 home runs, 307, right? Like that's the kind of a bat that is still a plus bat because he's batting 307. He's still hitting for some power, and he's a guy who's going to be better than what you already have. I'm not saying for sure him. That was just a very quick look at, just what's going on here. But like, I think you get my point. There are guys out there that you can get who are going to be huge pluses to your team, right? Who may not be the biggest names necessarily, but if they can come in and be that middle of the order guy or even that fifth batter on your team and really give you some great production, that can be enough right now. I'm not going to settle, though, for some guy who's batting .232 and happens to have 10 home runs. Like, that's not it. It either needs to be that they're a really good contact hitter with some gap power, or if they are going to go after a power guy, I do want a guy like a Suarez, right, where he's going to hit you a bunch of home runs. He may bat .220, but he's going to hit you a bunch of home runs, right? You got to get one of those extremes for me, because what you need to do, in my opinion, you need to have somebody who's obviously going to be better than what you have, right? I don't want somebody who's another chance like a Will Benson. I don't want somebody who's, just slightly better than Jake Fraley, right? I want somebody who is noticeably better. You're not going to feel bad about having to either trade those guys away, send them down, right? Or, I don't know, stick them on your bench. And I think there's going to be opportunities for them with this. I really do. They're going to be players that are going to kind of identify themselves here over the next month. And the Reds just have to keep themselves in it. I will say, to your point, though, of the kind of chit-chatting here, I do think Rosenthal's a guy who does throw out a lot of stuff about his opinions, but a lot of them are based on what he is hearing, right? I tend to believe, maybe I'm being positive, too positive about it. I think the Reds are looking. They've started their process of talking to people, maybe figuring out a package or something like that. I think if this team can get to like 5 or 6 games above 500 by the All-Star break, I think we're going to start hearing some very serious news about them being involved in some trade talks. They have been almost every year for the last few years, right? It's always been, well, the Reds were the runner-up, right? Or the guy right behind to get this guy, right? The Reds were always just doing enough to get there. This year, they need to do enough to get over the hump, and they may have to give up some guys that we don't want them to. But if you want to win with your young core, this is the time to do it. So those are my kind of final thoughts on it. You got anything else before we head into Yankees-Padres?
Yeah, I mean, for the Reds players, it just makes these next couple of weeks important before the All-Star break. We have Yankees-Padres this week, and then the Red Sox-Phillies next week. Stay around 500, and then when we have that chance, the 7 games against the Marlins and Rockies right before the All-Star break, go kill it. And then when everyone's worried about the All-Star break, our GMs, can all get on the phone and so have some good conversations and maybe get something done. I'm with you. The Reds have always been like in the mix for some of the guys, but they've never gotten the deal done. They're like the guy in the fantasy football league you're in. They just want to win the deal, and they don't want to actually go get something. This is the time now. If you give up a little bit too much, I'm going to have something later on some of the minor league stuff. It's okay, especially if you want to get a guy like maybe it's like, hey, even if it's not a rental and you get someone who has some control for the next couple of years, maybe that's worth it to give up a prospect. We don't know what's going to happen, guys. Like Tyson Lewis, the high school kid we took last year, we talked about. He's hitting pretty well in the rookie league. He's like 19 years old, and that's great. Like maybe he gets given up because he still has a lot of potential and he's playing well. That's the grand scheme of things. That might be fine. So a lot of things to kind of consider here. And yes, there will be people on Reds Twitter who don't like any trade you do when you give up a prospect for a veteran. There's a lot of people who don't like the Gavin Lux trade right now because the Dodgers got back to a prospect who's doing okay. But at the same time, would rather try. I want to try one time to win. You can't just sit here and wait for prospects. If we wait for these prospects to get called up, then 3 or 4 years down the line, we won't have the starting pitching we have. So it's kind of this cat and mouse game we got to play. So definitely with you on some of this stuff, and I think that let's make sure the Reds are aggressive. Let's make sure we stay in it by staying around 500 these next 2 weeks, and then capitalizing on that easier schedule right before the All-Star break.
Speaking of a tough schedule, Joe, let's get into it. Yankees. We got Lodolo versus Alan Winans is who I am seeing right now. Chase Burns going up against Mr. Carlos Rodon. Then you have Brady Singer versus Max Fried, one of the best pitchers in baseball. I had to go look up Alan Winans. Joe, he has started some games for Atlanta. He has not been particularly good, but this year for Scranton, the AAA affiliate for the Yankees, he has been unbelievable. 0.9 ERA, 9 games started, 11 games played. He's got a complete game, 50 innings pitched. He has given up 1 home run so far this year, 13 walks to 59 strikeouts. Look, it doesn't always translate, but this guy is 29. He's going to be 30 here very shortly. He has never really found it here in the major leagues. He has always been a relatively decent pitcher, it seems like, down in AAA, but it's getting beyond that level that has been the struggle for him. But this time looks different, I will say. He had a 2.85 ERA, got called up, had a 5.29, had a 3.3 ERA, called up, got smacked around in 2 games. This .9 ERA and then coming up here, I don't think he's going to be a joke. Carlos Rodon has been absolutely outstanding for them. 9-5, 3.1 ERA, and then Max Fried has been one of the best pitchers in baseball so far this year, with that 2.05 ERA. And then you still have to contend with Aaron Judge. Trent Grisham's having an unbelievable season. Ben Rice is a name that you don't know, but this boy can hit. Austin Wells is hitting well. Cody Bellinger, a name that you know who can hit. Jazz Chisholm's been great. Paul Goldschmidt has surprisingly been good. The alien himself, Jason Dominguez. This lineup is stacked. The thing is, Joe, the one thing I will say about this team, they are prone to making errors. They're quite prone to making errors. This is, and a lot of Reds fans will hate me, I grew up a Yankees fan as well as a Reds fan, okay? I got a great backstory for that. If you guys ever want to hear it, let me know. There is a reasoning behind it. But this is the other team I would say I know the most about other than the Reds. And they are tough, but they have been struggling. My last bit here, Joe, is up until this Orioles series, this amazing offense had not scored more than 3 runs in over a week. They went on a horrific streak. They lost 3 straight. They got swept by the Red Sox. Then they lost 3 to the Angels before finally winning one. Lost another to the Orioles, and then they won their next 2 after that. They looked better against an Orioles team that has horrific pitching, but for the most part, this team has been struggling as they come here into Great American Ballpark. Where are you at with them, Joe?
Yeah, I don't think we made our World Series predictions, but the Yankees would be my pick, and they are my pick now if we would do it right now. I think we're going to make another Subway Series. I think it might be Yankees-Mets.
That'd be fun.
Mets have been playing pretty good baseball, too. They are very, very good, and it's not just in, one way. They are good in a lot of ways. So, they have a top 10 bullpen in baseball right now, 3.46. Their starters at the top of the rotation have been good. Yes, the rotation depth maybe isn't as good as the Yankees usually have. You have Aaron Judge, 5.6 WAR already. That is ridiculous to have that much already this season. Best player in baseball this year, yeah, Shohei's starting to pitch right now for the Dodgers, and that'll definitely help his value being a pitcher and a hitter. But, come on, 5.6 WAR, 27 home runs. Also, quick, just because I'm saying home runs, Cal Raleigh, 30 home runs before the All-Star break.
31.
Probably should say this
Unbelievable.
31, yeah. Probably should say this for the fun fact portion, but he broke the record set by Johnny Bench, catchers. Home run by catchers before the All-Star break. It has 31, and we still have 3 weeks to go before the All-Star break. Is incredible. But back to the Yankees. So much talent in this lineup. There isn't easy outs pretty much anywhere. The bottom of the lineup maybe a little bit, but especially now that Giancarlo Stanton is back, he's starting to play a couple games. Still doesn't have a home run, but he's batting .316 in limited time, 6 games so far. This team, it's loaded. They went out and they got Devin Williams to help their bullpen from the Brewers. Thank you, Yankees, for taking a guy out of our division. That helps. And when they only give up Nestor Cortez, and that's why starting rotation isn't as good this year, maybe, at least at the bottom end. But he didn't really work out, and our old friend Luke Weaver is their closer for right now until they figure out Devin Williams. Who would have thought Luke Weaver would be the closer of the most notable team in baseball? But yeah, this is going to be one of the more interesting series. Our ballpark plays right into their hands with the power they have. Yes, maybe some left-handed power would be nice for this team a little bit more, but they have the right-handed power for sure. And all about keeping the ball in the yard against the Yankees. Everyone talked about the torpedo bats early. That has cooled off now, but keep the ball in the yard, avoid Aaron Judge as much as you possibly can. And we're not very fortunate. We faced their 2 starters who are very, very good this year in Rodon and Max Fried. So it might be a tough series, but just try to get a win in here.
I'm going to go with 1 win. I'm going to go with Lodolo over Alan Winans here on Monday. There's a chance at 2 wins. It Burns ambushes them. There's no shot we should be winning against Max Fried. We've struggled against lefties. I'm going to just call it now, no hitter, potential perfect game watch in that one. I'm just going to say it. I'm sorry, but Max Fried is that dude. He has been unbelievable for them. We've already struggled against lefties. We are sadly facing 2 lefties in this one as well with Rodon and Max Fried. I love our team. I think that they are going to battle this series, but I think there's going to be at least one game where we give up like 10 runs, and that's just going to be kind of how it goes. So there's the chance, though, that we do the Dodgers thing we did last year at the end of May, where it was like, we thought we were out, everything was bad, then the Reds go and they swept the Dodgers in LA, right? Like, there's a chance that this happens, but I just don't expect it. I think if you can get out of this, if you find a way to get out of this with 2 wins, we should be absolutely thumping our chests at that point, because that is huge. It's not that this team can't play with the Yankees. I don't want to say that. But I just think that this team has a lot of veterancy right now. They have quite literally the best player on the planet right now, in my opinion. I know that Cal Raleigh has a few more home runs than him, but like, dude, the fact that Aaron Judge is batting .367, considering what he does already, I mean, the man has 105 hits already this season, Joe. I mean, we are looking at an all-time great season at the moment from this man. And I went and looked, like, the way he's playing, if he continues to do what he's doing, there's a real world where this man could hit 600 home runs if he stays healthy, and it is disgusting. Like, he's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, first off, I am going to the game tonight, so I hope to bring back that win in the game that we both expect. I'm going to say 1-2. I do think it's that game. We can beat the Yankees. I think if our rotations lined up better, I think we would. But we have one of his guys making his MLB debut, and then Brady Singer gets Max Fried. What are you going to do? Like, if we had Hunter Green healthy, and maybe Lodolo or Abbott, the top 3, if you want to do that, or you said Chase Burns in a couple months if he's better, then it works out better. Aaron Judge is playing fantastic. One more note on him. I do hope Elly De La Cruz does take some notes about Aaron Judge, because he is a taller hitter, and he has to deal with some of the stuff that Elly has to deal with, even though Ellie's a switch hitter and Aaron Judge is not. And one of those things is, Aaron Judge noticed he wasn't getting a lot of the low calls that he wanted, so he lifted his socks up, and now he wears the high socks. It is because of the low part of the strike zone. The umpires can see the low part of the strike zone better. When you're that tall, it's harder to do. So maybe Elly can do the high socks thing. I know it's not cool in today's baseball to wear the high socks as maybe it was 20, 30 years ago, but that's just something to watch. He has. I mean, we'll watch the strike zones this series, Rob, and see if Aaron Judge gets some of the low calls and Elly De La Cruz does not. But yeah, I'm going to go 1-2, and I do think they bring home that game tonight. I hope to be good luck.
I will give a quick fact for myself, by the way. First ever article that I wrote for the Game House was that the Reds should have traded Johnny Cueto back in, I think it was 2016, for Aaron Judge. That was my trade thing that they should have done. It added up correctly with like whatever the stats were and everything. And there ended up being a rumor that the Reds had asked, but the Yankees said no. So, sad day. Imagine if we had had Aaron Judge to pair with Elly De La Cruz. Would have been unbelievable.
Oh, one more thing, especially in our ballpark, too. That would be amazing. The Yankees are, I mean, well, I will say there are some things that, like, hey, Aaron Judge does struggle in the playoffs sometimes. It's overblown a little bit, but he does struggle in the playoffs. He doesn't live for the big moment as much like he does. Like, yes, the whole home run breaking record was cool. But there are times when he struggles. Like, he struggled against the Red Sox a couple weeks ago, or a week ago in that series. And hit one home run, went 1 for 12, which I guess is nice to have the home run. But this is a streaky team. They lost that, like, 6-7 in a row to the Red Sox and Angels. So, you might be saying, hey, like, oh, we probably should lose the series. Me and Rob are both picking that. But like you said earlier, Rob, it's not as dominant of a team where they just win 2 out of 3 every time and move on. It is very streaky for them.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt about that. And they do have a lot of streaky hitters as well. They'll do even worse than the Reds in terms of, like, they will hit for a series and then not hit for another one at all. So that's why some of their averages are a little inflated, but that's okay. Let's head into the Padres. Joe, it says it's undecided. It looks like a Nick Martinez game, but I don't know. We'll have to see here. But it's Nick Martinez, is what I'm guessing, versus Dylan Cease. Andrew Abbott versus Randy Vasquez. And then Nick Lodolo gets his second start of the week against Steven Kolick. This is a much more beatable team than I think you or I really thought they were going to be at the beginning of the season. They are getting struggles from guys that I don't think that they were anticipating having their struggles with. I think that they're hitting. They've been hurt by the injury bug for sure. I don't know. I didn't hear anything about Tatis after he got hit in the hand the other day. Manny Machado is still playing very, very well. Jackson Merrill's been an awesome player to watch as well. Luis Ariz, a guy who some people love, others hate, still only has 6 strikeouts on the entire year in almost 300 at-bats. I don't know, Joe. I mean, this feels like a winnable series to me, but where are you at with them?
Yeah, there's a team that, like, their offense does come and go more than you would want. We mentioned that with the Yankees, but I think the Padres are even a little bit worse with it. It's like, you know what you're getting out of Machado, Arias, and Tatis. The other guys, it feels like it's, like, up and down a little bit more. Not a team that I'm worried about as much with the power. Tatis does lead them with 14 home runs. But it is just that they have so many solid hitters who can kind of sustain those rallies. So worried about that a little bit. Their bullpen is one of the best in baseball, 3.29 ERA, 4th in the big leagues. So it's going to be important to get after their starters. The problem is Dylan Cease by ERA is their worst starter this year. That's not something you want to have to deal with. So it is winnable. I would say it's more winnable than the Yankee series, but it is very much like I'm still leaning towards 1 and 2. The Nick Martinez start, yes, he's going against Dylan Cease, and they're very similar this year, like 4.3 ERA for Dylan Cease, and Martinez is up to like 4.4. And then Abbott maybe gets that win against Randy Vasquez, and then Lodolo versus Stephen Kolek might be a toss-up. So a little bit more winnable, but this is a very tough team, and if they end up losing the series, I'm not going to say, hey, season's over, that type of thing. It's going to be, if we can get 1 win out of both these series, or 2 wins total this week, and we're 500 after this week, I think we can sit there and be like, all right, that's, we treaded water in this time where we don't have a lot of our pitchers. We treaded water in a time where we played 2 of the best teams in baseball, even if the Padres are a little bit more beatable than the Yankees.
I'm going to go 2-1, and here's why. The Padres are just as bad against lefties as the Reds are. And the Padres will have to go against a tough lefty in Andrew Abbott. They will have to go against another tough lefty against Nick Lodolo. While Vasquez and Kolek have been better than Dylan Cease, I think that there's a way the Reds win 2 of these games, Joe. I really do. They play well on Fridays. Then you have, again, the Abbott and Lodolo starts. That should worry them. Even if Tatis is going to end up playing by this time, he's still a little bit injured. You got to stay away from Machado, in my opinion. I think that's the big guy you really got to try to avoid. But, I mean, Sheets, Cronenworth, and Merrill, I believe, are all lefties. Luis Ariz is as well. While he can hit anything, he's not going to really hit for power, obviously, with that. And I think if Tatis is struggling a little bit with that injury, Machado's the guy you dodge. If you can dodge Machado, I think you're in a good spot, Joe. So I am going to go 2-1 in this series because I think if this Reds team can finish 3-3 after this week, I think they are in an awesome position heading into these last, 13 games before the All-Star break. So I'm going to go with that. But give us some wise words before we head on out of here.
All right, I just have one little thing to look out for. They kind of alluded to it on the broadcast, but maybe didn't go as deep as I would have liked. Chattanooga Lookouts are stacked. It's awesome. Cam Collier, 4.62 average with them so far. He obviously was rehabbing it and playing at a lower level as well. But yeah, so he's played 7 games. Sal Stewart, 325 batting average in 66 games played. He has 7 home runs. Hector Rodriguez, not a guy we've talked a lot about, not maybe the biggest name prospect. He's batting 316 with 10 home runs and 37 RBIs. And then just to add it to it, if you like other guys as well, it really does drop off a little bit after that for the production. They don't have much production after that, but those top guys are really good. Edwin Arroyo, 265. He has a home run this year. And then Austin Hendrick, the right fielder, 252, 7 home runs. So there's guys that, like, if you're looking for guys to maybe help us out later this season, possibly in more like 2 years from now, that is a pretty good top 4 or 5 for a AA team. After that, there's not really many people worth noting. They're all batting averages are all down in the 220s and stuff. But I thought it was interesting that basically with Stewart, Collier, Rodriguez, and Arroyo, they're probably fun to watch. If you can get down to Chattanooga for a game, I think while they're all 4 there, it's probably fun.
Yeah, and I mean, let's be honest. I think 1 or 2 of those guys are gone by the trade deadline if the Reds are going to go out and do something. So enjoy them while they are here, but we will have to see, maybe, I don't know, somehow good old Mr. Crawl pulls some magic out of his hat and you still get to keep all of those guys and find somebody else. So that'd be pretty amazing. But this has gone on long enough, Joe. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. Let us know, as always, what you guys are thinking in the comment section below. But that is going to wrap it up for us on this one. So from our house to yours, we'll catch you on the next one.